Greetings and salutations, travelers. Welcome back to the Inn of Planar Crossroads, and as always, welcome back to our Around the Hearth discussions. This time, we are going to be discussing Le Friction, or Le Friction, or however you want to say that. I don't know how French you want to be about that. I've voiced many times that it is not my favorite language, but however French you want to be about that, you can. But cool songs. So, per request by Zachariah mainly, but Dan also, we're doing the whole album, the whole first album. So we'll get people's thoughts on that, and we decided to do it song by song. We'll kind of work through them, and as we work through them, we'll be able to give our thoughts and ideas on it. But that's enough of the preamble. Just letting you know who's here. We have myself, Adam, from the Inn of Planar Crossroads. You can check us out at innofplanarcrossroads.com or theiopc.com. Either one of those works. We also have the Avenue Studios, a couple of people from over there. We've got Dan.
Hello.
And Zachariah.
Howdy.
And then we've got, of course, our resident squirrel brain. We've got Scrat from a Squirrel Plays. Exclusively on YouTube. So,
exclusive. That's right.
Yeah.
Special.
Scrat from a Squirrel Plays on YouTube, and then Dan from Avenue Dan and Zach from Avenue Studios are avenuestudios.media. If you want to check out theirs, it's got their site and the stuff that they're doing. So you can check them out. You can check out all that stuff. But that's our preamble done. That's the intro. I still have to work on the whatever the intro is going to be for our actual thing. So grab your preferred beverage and join us around the hearth as we discuss Les Frictions. Les Friction. Skull.
Skull.
Roll the intro.
Got my beverage in my fried chicken cup like a good southerner.
Yes, dude, that's awesome. I have something very warm, like a Yankee in the winter.
All right. Let's see. I'm showing that both of the volumes are up. Okay. We haven't messed up this time. Viewers, and you're probably seeing that. So, let's go ahead and get over... we've got the Excalidraw here for when people start bringing stuff up that they've got from that. But we also will have, since this is a conversion, we will have the actual lyrics up there also for people as we work through. And since Zachariah is the one that said, hey, let's do this, we're going to let him start. So, I guess we're starting with Louder Than Words? Or where are we starting, Zach?
Yeah, let's just go in order then.
All right.
So there's a lot of different ways that you can take this matter, and my approach to it, and we didn't really confer on exactly what our approaches are. My approach is, how do you take each of these songs and create a playable scene for the story? I'm not taking it very holistically as like, what does the overall album mean? I'm not trying to create a character based off of the song. I'm trying to say, let's say you listen to the song and you say, man, that's an amazing feel. How do I create that in gameplay? Well, that's the approach that I'm taking. What is a louder than words story moment that you could incorporate into your RPG? So it's going to be a bit system agnostic.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to focus a little bit on the narrative components that you would need to have, the character components that you would need to have, how do you set up a scene, and then to some extent, and this is probably the weakest piece of the category, what actual gameplay mechanics could you invoke to make the scene play through? Again, I don't really have a system in mind. So here's my pitch for Louder Than Words.
Oh, hold on. I
Go
forgot.
ahead.
There is a description on the site about Le Friction's actual album thing. So
Yes.
I'm going to say that for the viewers, just in case it actually comes into what we're talking about. So,
Sure.
in the year 2048 AD, humans are now able to leave their earthly home and travel to other dimensions. While traveling, a shell of their body remains on Earth and functions at a reduced capacity. For most people, life is more interesting and entertaining in those alternate dimensions. However, having neglected their loved ones at home, society on Earth begins to deteriorate. Anarchy ensues, and the travelers begin to receive millions of SOSs from their families on Earth. Now, they must fight and struggle their way back home to save Earth from certain destruction. Our story begins. So that may come into what Zach's talking about. Just wanted to have that for the viewers, just in case.
So I see Louder Than Words as a opportunity to have a really awesome call to action moment for maybe a new group of heroes. I think it works well with the stories opening there. It does sound like a call to action. It is people coming in to get involved and invested in what's going on. The song opens up with a lot of despair, a lot of hopelessness. There's a lot of insinuation of like ruin and ash and rubble and darkness. You can interpret that, I think, in lots of different ways, your campaign, whether you have like dragons that have desolated a countryside or oppression underneath, an empire. And then you have this grand moment in the song that says, we have the force to fight, we have the blinding light, we have the will to win, forever will defend. So there's your hero's moment to come crashing in and to speak louder than words, which of course means actions. I think a very cool way of doing this would be if you have a heroic party that maybe doesn't know they're heroic yet. You introduce them into a story of despair. You tell them through narrative and themes and encounters that it's hopeless until your characters make a choice to fight back, and then you let them discover how powerful they are. And if it's a smaller campaign, a one-shot, a some-shot, let them ramp it up as far and as wild as they can. The song builds to a point where it says that they're going to be knocking out the sun. Sometimes it's really fun to let your characters have a power trip fantasy where you just say yes. I don't know if anyone's had that experience, but it's wild when the players keep asking and you do keep saying yes. So some thoughts on that from the crew?
Well, I do like the idea.
Yeah.
I like the idea as this being the start off, the louder than words part. The survivors thing and they're coming home, building off of the idea of what's in the description. I do think that the songs themselves work well for a sci-fi setting because of that's kind of how Le Friction was already doing it anyway. But it also is easy to slot in there because, especially in verse 1 where it says no one could outrun the crash, it was all reduced to rubble and then began again to ash. So it's like there's no way they're not getting back on whatever's crashed, and that's pretty easy to do with like a spaceship or something. So I do like that. You could do the more esoteric version where it's like the crash is some kind of metaphor for what they're going through. But if you're just starting out, that metaphor can be something that comes in later, and the crash represented that in a narrative sense. But I like the actual literal crash, rubble, ash thing, because it later in the album it talks about a sun also, and that being used in a, I think, not in a good way. It's like there's a conflict with it and stuff. So I would probably maybe bring that in outside this crash thing. But you can have this crash be, you're playing the survivors and you've got this down moment. You're already you're doing your start in media res kind of thing, and that's where it is. The action started, you're playing in the action right now. What does your character do? Because they've already made their character. So what does your character do right now? It's crashing. You just crashed. Very pitch black in its startup. So doing that, and then this, it's almost being like a rundown of the first session where they get to the chorus and it's like, we've got the force to fight. We've got a purpose to keep going. They each do have that purpose. And if they didn't know each other before, now they know each other because they just all survived the crash and not everybody survived type of thing. And now you got to work together to get back off the planet. Or maybe you crashed on the planet you wanted to get to, but now you've got to actually get to where you want to be. So that's kind of the general idea of how I was working through this one.
I like that idea of introducing your characters through the actions rather than through some like conversation of get the party together through like talking. Nah, everyone can see what they can do first, and then maybe they have a reason to go over and say, hey, maybe we could go on an adventure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Scrat.
It's a little bit of a tangent, but I was gonna say that immediate action starting makes me think some video games, more of the older ones. I don't feel like I've seen it in a while, where you start right in the middle of something and your character's really strong, and then you lose all that for some reason or some other. Like Final Fantasy 4, 4. You start off as the bad guy, you and your buddy, and you're really, really strong. It's introducing you to the game, but you're so strong you can't really make mistakes, and then things happen, and then you start back at the lower level, get more introduced. So that was a bit of a tangent, but that's kind of what you're making me think of with the hard starts, just right in the middle of it on that ship going in.
I know that really fits with what Adam was saying too, and then gets to that crash, because I really liked what you were saying, Zach, too, and because there is that hard shift in the song. I almost, on a flip side, I like that idea of the thought, when is the inciting incident, when's that moment where the characters switch? I really like that. Of course, because I'm broken, I think about it from streaming a game. But so it's not always applicable, but I kind of like it in the first session too, if you can set that. I'm not opposed at all to what Scrat and Adam, you guys are saying too, but my first was showing them down in the dirt, setting and I think it's because when I was listening to it, a holistic approach of this dystopian, apocalyptic almost setting with the zombified sort of people. Not zombies like they're going to attack, but just, without real agency. And then to have the players beaten down, you could still start with the action, but just pummel them at the start. Where hopefully even the players are like, okay, wait a second. You can't just do this to us in the first session. We got to try something. And then, like you were saying, Zach, then look for that opportunity about halfway through to start saying yes. And then... But I also like what you Scrap was saying with Adams of you're super powerful and stuff starting, crash, and now you have nothing. That could be a good way to introduce a new system too, like you were saying, Scrat, even from a dice aspect.
In Final Fantasy IV's case, you start off thing like that, but you basically go from Black Knight to White Knight. You become a paladin, and you go through a literal transformation. So that is what resets you. That's how you lose all your powerful stuff. So that's very story driven in that regard, and whereas Metroid games, oh, you just lost all your stuff because that's how these games work.
Yep. What I like that's cool, I think we're all talking about too, and it goes with this song, is that there's like this, you set a standard and then somewhere in the middle of it, things transition, which is pretty cool. I don't know. It kind of it reminds me a little of that dragon game you did with Mustache and I and Sammy and Austin.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, dude. Because you're setting this thing, and then that's especially what you were trying to do too, knowing your background thoughts on it.
Yeah, I did perfect the timing for that. We could chat about that another time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot of your campaigns are going to start out low level and build to higher levels, and you might start out a little bit higher, like level. I know some people like to start at level 4 or level 8 even, and grow a little bit. But most of the time, you're starting out very low level. I don't think there's a problem with structuring a story where you give people a taste of what is a higher level version of your character like, whether it's something that's in a dream, or something that's before, or maybe it's a prophecy they're playing through. Maybe they are starting powerful, like Scred is saying, and something is going to reduce that level. It might even be something where it's just a comparative power level. Maybe your characters are building a level 10 character for the first encounter to get that feeling, but then you're going to scale it. We're going to scale that power down to level 1 or to something smaller, and then grow from there. But the understanding is your character's perspective is, you were very powerful in this instance, and the whole story is shifting to another power scale where you're weaker going forward. This way you can start with a highlight, and then you still get growth going forward. Not sure if that made sense. But just power scaling as a matter of perspective is something you could play with the system.
And you can, depending on what you're doing with the setting, if you're running it similar to how they ran it with the actual album, having that crash out could also be, let me see, in the album they're going through different dimensions, so that's their thing. But it may be something closer to, what is it, altered carbon or something like that, where you get cloned and your brain goes to a different body or something. So if it's doing something like that in order to facilitate space travel, that means that the body you left with your family is still there, but the body that you're using right now is not. And I think it'd be interesting if you kind of played with that in the game.
Yeah.
If it's a campaign, you could play with that in the game, because the chorus is saying that they've got the force to fight, they have the blinding light, and then a war is more than heard, coming in louder than words. So there is the setup for a larger conflict with what's going on back at Earth, and them being able to hop dimensions is a thing. Now, you could go even darker if you wanted to, and I might, personally lean this way, where this leaving of the consciousness. So this leaving of the consciousness, I sometimes listen to Isaac Arthur, who's another YouTuber that's worth listening to if you're interested in futurism and ideas like that. You can experience something in not altered reality, virtual reality, there we go, inside of a computer. Theoretically, humans would be able to experience something in a similar way to dreaming, where you would, if it was synced up properly with the brain, you would be able to basically live through lots of different lives, full lifetimes, because you can in dreams. In dreams you live through full lifetimes in moments. And so that may be the way that they're exploring the universe, is leaving their body behind and using a virtual exploration, doing a virtual exploration. But they do it in such a way where, imagine being a 20-year-old who's lived through 3 different tours in a matter of however many days or months or something like that. And what that would kind of do to a society when someone's body may look young but their mind's way old.
Mhm.
Or their body may look old but through different methods their mind was kind of kept in stasis or something like that, and their body aged, or there was some kind of malfunction, and now they're a 5-year-old, not a 5-year-old because they wouldn't be in the thing, but like an 18 or a 20-year-old that's stuck in a body that's, I don't know, a lot more worn down, and having to function and work through that. That's a much more that would probably do a different kind of game than what we're talking about here. If you're wanting something more heroic, you could do it that way. If you do something like that, where it's a conscious projection that's out, that's how they're exploring, using something like replicants that are empty might be a good way to do that, instead of full-on clones, because those have to actually get out there, whereas you can send something like a replicant out and it doesn't technically age, can kind of be on ice if you're going with like a Blade Runner type situation. So it lasts a lot longer, and they can make it to different star systems easier if you're going with generational ships again. And some people might not want to leave the replicant body. It's better than their old body. So they just may want to kind of leave that body on ice.
Yeah, maybe the, if this is something that's like luxury commodity, if we go with like society degradation through decadence, right? Rich people, get to go and put their body in some sleeper stasis. There's a physical alternate form. It's powerful and strong or beautiful. It's ready for a dimension and portals over. You get to live there for a while and then come back. Maybe if you do this with your players get to come back with this high-level body, right? Maybe that lasts in the home dimension for a certain amount of time, an episode, an arc, whatever. You get to kick butt for a little bit, but eventually, when it gets killed, you go back to your regular, normie, human body, and then you get to play on a lower scale for a little bit until you get suited up again. Maybe a way to play with the power scale.
Not clarifying what the interdimensional travel is, if anything, which I like, Adam, your idea with you could live multiple lives or centuries because you're experiencing it in your mind. I kind of liked leaving it out there where it's like, is it actually real? Some people might think that it's just like you're hallucinating effectively. And then other people are like, no, this is real. I've experienced it.
Oh, we
might just be on a kick of that. Play with that. What is reality?
Well, if you want to go like Inception and start toying with what perceived reality is versus real reality, you could go right into that, because
You just go to Miami.
Yeah.
Good callback.
Yeah. So hopefully you've been watching since January, but that's what he's referencing back to. Check that out. But if you wanted to, again, take another darker turn, this may not be that you're actually exploring anything, because it's talking about the degradation of society. They may be telling people that they're going to other universes. They may be telling people that you're furthering humanity's cause, when really the people that are actually doing it and actually running the thing know just how far gone everything is, and they're like, well, keep the masses satisfied, tell them they're doing something important, and send them into space. And
yeah, there's your dystopian.
They just send them into an alternate VR setup. That's why they perceive like it's happening so much fast, because their brain processes it faster.
Don't have to feed them. So cheap to take care of.
Yeah.
But I have this thing, and it's just my personal thing, where I sometimes like to not have an answer. So I would have fun playing with that and see where the players take it. And maybe the answer kind of comes out of the collaborative storytelling, or maybe we never really know, because we're obviously, I would want to do a little in and out, something like what Zach was saying too with the bodies, but maybe it's in and out of the interdimensional. I had the thought of people, because jumping slightly ahead, it's like people wanting to be called back. Earth needs help. You need to come home. So you want to be going in and out of that and playing with that reality. And maybe at the end they I don't know. I like that. It's like, was any of that real? I don't know, but Earth here has to be real, or at least that's what hopefully the party's pitch would be.
Insight from playing a long-running campaign with characters popping into virtual arcs and then back into a real world. It is a beautiful experience if you get a chance to play it, because what you bring with you back from the virtual things is just the relationships, the character connection moments, the understanding that you have, and you let that play out in the real world as the takeaways. It's actually very fulfilling for the character play, instead of something that feels like you're it's not unsubstantial, it's more substantial for the character because it's all you get to bring back. Just a thought. It's a very fun way.
Well, we're getting pretty close to that 30-minute mark, so do we want to start branching into another set of the songs? Because we're going to have to do faster than just one song at a time. So we're going to have to work through if we're going to fit this into 1 month.
Kickoff.
It's a good kickoff. We got ourselves started. So, final thoughts for
lots
anybody?
of ways to go. I would just summarize. There's so many different ways you could take it, which is really cool. But that idea of, in some way, find that shift, get things started, whether it's straight into the action, high powered, and then you shift it down, or vice versa. Crush the players immediately, and then give them that moment to shift to being the heroes. I think that's what I'm getting most from this, outside of the overall setting, is whether within a game or within the first couple sessions, set a tone and then let it shift. Let the players take it in a shift in some way.
All right. Anything from Scrat or Zach?
Nah, I love that.
All right.
I'm hanging on till I get a chance to insert my incorrect notes. So.
Oh, okay. I'm sure the time will come.
There are no wrong notes, just crazy ideas.
All right. Well, we hope you have enjoyed, viewers. We hope you're enjoying our second month back. This will be the first full month back, because those viewers that were waiting for us to come back in January know that first episode of January was basically, I had to take stuff about that, but you'll see that announcement. But we'll start up this month full and set, so hopefully you're enjoying. And do remember to check out A Scrap from a Squirrel Plays, Dan and Zach from Avenue Studios .media, and the inofplanarcrossroads.com or inofplanarcrossroads.com or theiopc.com. Either one of those works. As always, have a great day. God bless and enjoy. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
This content was made possible by travelers and viewers like you. Thank you.